We were thinking that Amupitan, who is from the university system, who has perhaps a golden opportunity to edge his name in gold, will do far better and correct all the ills of Mahmoud Yakubu. But unfortunately, he has already donated himself to be used to destabilize democracy in Nigeria. Now, what is even more annoying is the fact that we know you are from the university system. You have never seen a huge amount of money. But this is the first time you are seeing money almost close, nearing trillion for you to conduct, an election that should be free, fair, and credible. But you are using those monies to further destabilize the system. This Tinubu administration is not a listening one. It's not a caring one. And it is not a responsive government. I would even add that it is not a responsible government. And the reason why I'm saying this is because for every protest, there had been various protests in Nigeria, none was addressed. And now we are facing a new phase of autocracy and dictatorship.
This is Naija Unfiltered on SYMFONI TV. My name is Olawale Oluwade, and my guest today is Alhaji Umar Sani, Special Advisor, Media and Publicity in the Goodluck Jonathan administration, was attached to the office of the Vice President. Namadi Sam. Alhaji Umar, welcome to the show.
Oluwade.
And nice to see you again today.
It's my pleasure.
Now,
coming back.
You're welcome. Now, let's get right. No time to play around.
Yeah.
Issues are, emerging at a very rapid pace. Issues of serious national concern. In the last few days, March 30th, precisely, Independent National Electoral Commission recognized the Wike faction of the PDP, your party. They recognized the convention that they did, the Wike faction of the PDP. Now, April 1st, just 2 days or 3 days after, they de-recognized the David Mark-led NWC of the African Democratic Congress. Two different parties, two decisions. And they were talking about legal processes as the reason why. Don't forget the Turaki-led PDP, of which you are a part, are in the Supreme Court. INEC did not, because of that, not recognize the convention results of PDP, but they are applying that doctrine to the ADC. Is this selective decision by INEC? Is INEC being complicit? Is this a coincidence, or they are playing out a script?
Well, let me start by telling you that when President Tinubu appointed Josh Amapita, there were a lot of outcry across the country that he should be sacked because he holds views that are antithetical to the unity, prosperity of Nigeria. And he had expressed them openly. But because he was a man on a mission, a man who is sent to destroy Nigeria's democracy, that is the reason why he is playing a script. At least you have heard from Anselm Odunkalu, who said that he has a pre-signed letter of resignation that is stated there that he has resigned from this position. So he was said to have been under pressure to do what he's doing. Now, democracy before the coming of Tinubu had flourished. A lot of opposition parties have been given chance right from 1999. How we started. 3 political parties, AD, PDP, and APP, were the 3 political parties that were registered. by the Ephraim Akpata-led INEC. Ephraim Akpata ensured that democracy flourished. In fact, that was the first time that we had the first major coalition between AD and APP, where Olawale was the presidential candidate and Umar of the APP was the vice presidential candidate. We moved from that era to the next, and all the INEC chairmen had improved upon the system up to the period of Jega, who brought in the electronic consideration into and technology, let me say technology into the system. And so far, Nigerians are appreciative of the technology that has been brought in. However, Mahmoud, who was supposed to be the best INEC chairman because he had introduced servers that when you vote, immediately it goes into the server. Now, introduced what is called a glitch, which now marred the presidential election, while other elections were intact. Now, we were thinking that Amupitan, who is from the university system, who was perhaps a golden opportunity to edge his name in gold, will do far better and correct all the ills of Mahmoud Yakubu, being a professor and a senior advocate of Nigeria. But unfortunately, he has already donated himself to be used to destabilize democracy in Nigeria. He has been very, 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 every political party is not happy with him, except, of course, the APC, for whom he is working for. Now, what is even more annoying is the fact that we know you are from the university system. You have never seen a huge amount of money. But this is the first time you are seeing money almost close, nearing trillion for you to conduct, an election that should be free, fair, and credible. But you are using those monies to further destabilize the system. You have introduced voter revalidation. And I don't know from which evidence, whether it is empirical or whether it is merely logical, that he will now conclude that the voter registrar is too high.
So, like I said in my introduction, two parties, the PDP and the ADC, two decisions, different decisions, but similar, scenarios. PDP are in court. The Turaki-led NWC have gone to the Supreme Court, while the Wike-led PDP had this lavish convention they held, I think, last weekend.
Yes.
Monitored by the PDP, recognized by the PDP.
By INEC.
By INEC. Now, coming to ADC, the ADC, of course, has David Mark as the chairman, Aregbesola as national secretary, and this is the party, opposition party, the leading, using the words of politicians, the leading opposition party now, the sole one, the only one now that can actually muster some level of opposition to the ruling party. So, as it is being alleged that the APC, the ruling government, is out to destabilize any party that is able to muster some level of opposition. Because that's what happened to the Labour Party, to PDP. And they said, no, it is not true, it is internal. But then we see what is going on now in ADC. Can you explain this? Alhaji, I ask once again, is this a script that is being played out?
Yes, I said, when anybody says it's an internal crisis, there is nothing internal. When somebody has double loyalty, if somebody says, I'm a member of PDP, you are working in an APC government, and you say you stand on somebody's mandate, how can it be internal crisis? It is orchestrated. I have always said that the problem of the PDP is Tinubu, because He even openly admitted it in the National Assembly. He said it gives him great pleasure to see the PDP in disarray. And he said, I'm not going to help you.
That's the president.
Yes, that's the president. The president says, I'm not going to help you.
Yes.
Now, that statement is very clear. I will put more problem in your party, and I will not help you. And I will make sure that you are dead. Now, do we need any soothsayer or any Paul the Octopussy or anybody to tell us that, it is the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau? It is Tinubu that is behind our travails. Now look at what Bala Muhammad said recently. Bala said that in trying to reconcile within the PDP, he even met Tinubu 3 times. And that Tinubu was amenable to the reconciliation. But in all this, they said they were going to get back to him. Nobody called him. Nobody got back to him. And Wike called himself. During the reconciliation, Wike said he is the conqueror. According to Bala, he said he's the conqueror. Now, if you are the conqueror, who did you conquer? Perhaps we will say you are the conqueror of the Nigerian judiciary. Because Wike has never won an election on the field. It is always through the judiciary.
Alhaji, with all this gale of controversies, allegations, counter-allegations against INEC, because don't forget, the I, in INEC, stands for independence.
Yes.
Independent national. So INEC as an institution ought to be independent, not only by nomenclature, but obviously, practically. What is the future of democracy concerning INEC's or Professor Josh's ability to superintend over INEC?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we will have the worst INEC chairman that Nigeria has ever produced, because he is being guided on what to do, on how to do them. He is not independent in himself. First, before you adopt a name of independence, you have to be independent in your heart. You have to know that you are there to serve Nigeria and not to serve the interest or loyalty of any person who appointed you. The appointing officer notwithstanding. Jonathan appointed Jega. Jega supervised an election where Jonathan lost. And Jonathan did not say it was Jega that failed him, because he was not expecting Jega to support him. When Jonathan won in 2011, he praised Jega for the reforms in INEC. And when he lost in 2015, he never said that it was deliberate action of Jega that led him to lose the election. Now, the main question is that Tinubu knows that he's not popular in Nigeria and that he cannot win election. On a good day, he can't win election in Nigeria, because Nigerians are tired of, not only him, they are tired of APC. Nigerians don't want to hear APC. And they know that. So they are moving against the Nigerian people. They are moving against politicians. They are moving against any political party that has life. Now, look at Labour Party. They have gone to Supreme Court. There is another round of battle again. After the Supreme Court judgment, again, the lady had to go to Federal High Court again before Justice Lifu. Again, they are moving. They have appealed again to Court of Appeal. So it is just a merry-go-round.
Brilliant. I love this point you touched on now, because that's actually where I was coming to. Because I listened to Professor Josh this morning on a sister network, where he was defending the decision that they took. So, number one issue, Alhaji, he said the Court of Appeal decision was relying on, said the parties to the suit, to whatever litigation, should go back to status quo antebellum, meaning, the condition they were before hostilities or war began. The question is that, could it be the intention of the Court of Appeal that a political party would have no NWC? Could that be the intention of the Court of Appeal?
No. In fact, when it's even election,
that is one leg.
Yeah.
The second leg is that, when will this litigation end? Because INEC has rolled out timetable, guidelines for party affairs and primaries and all of that.
Litigation will never end, which is what I'm telling you, that we are having a merry-go-round. But let me start by telling you that when the Court of Appeal, I read the judgment.
Yes.
The Court of Appeal said that the Federal High Court should retry the matter again. That they do not have power to try this matter because it's not within their competence.
Yes.
But meanwhile, they should remain,
as they were
on status quo ante-bellum. Now, if they say you should remain as you are, it means the man should remain as the chairman. Adebesola should remain as the secretary, and then let the case commence again.
Yes.
But INEC decided to accord that interpretation their own interpretation because they were serving a particular purpose. George Amopeto should not take Nigerians for fools. We all know what we are doing, and we understand all the game. We understand that Tinubu is afraid of competition.
Alaji, is it that you are not a layman? We are not lawyers. So maybe because he's not just a lawyer, he's a professor of law. He's not just a professor; he's a senior advocate. Maybe that's why he has.
No, he's an administrative senior advocate. He is not a lawyer that goes to court. He does not have legal experience going into court arguing cases. He is only a legal draftsman, and who offers consultation and advice. But he doesn't have legal experience going into court. I think it is because the committee, the
legal privileges
committee, yes, that the committee, I would prefer to call them committee, now decided that even academicians,
yes, a few of them,
yes, should be considered for son. Otherwise, he is not supposed to be a son. But again, let us agree that he is a son.
Yes. Because
he is a son. Now, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, does he think that he can outmaneuver all the lawyers in Nigeria as to interpret the law the way he deems fit, not the way it is? It cannot be possible. And it is not for him to interpret the law. If there is any question as to the ambiguity of any law, he is supposed to go back to court.
Absolutely, because I listened to some other lawyers who argued, just like you said now, that if INEC, because I saw this morning how the INEC chair struggled valiantly, cherry-picking dates. He was picking dates that, it cannot be this date, September, it cannot be August, it has to be July. So it was, like you said, even though I'm not, I agree with you entirely, he was more or less choosing the dates he wanted.
Yes.
And that's why I put the question to you, Alaji, once again. Could the Court of Appeal, by any stretch of the imagination, have envisaged a situation where a political party would not have a management team?
There is no way, there is no vacuum in leadership. You can't create a vacuum in leadership. The whole idea is that Tinubu has said, I've already finished with PDP. Let me go to ADC and finish with them. Since I don't want competition, I want to win by all means. I want to be coronated on the 29th of May, 2027. So let me create problems. Now, this problem he's creating, it cannot go away. There are problems that can go away, but there are problems that can never go away. And these are the ones that can never go away. And when they call Tinubu a master strategist, I sometimes begin to wonder, what type of strategy? Is that the way he has been winning Lagos? Creating problems in Lagos and then manipulating the system? Is that strategy? It leaves me wondering how somebody with that type of mentality can. I thought he, as part of his strategy, he will allow PDP, he will allow ADC, so that two opposing political parties will now bring up candidates that will reduce their votes and then make him win. I thought that would have been his own strategy. But his own strategy is to kill them and kill democracy and ensure that democracy does not exist. And then he has willing tools. Those people who are willing to motivate themselves for the purpose of killing democracy. And one of them is Jason Mupe, because he has been given Minister of FCT. And so, because he's now Minister of FCT, he wants to continue to become Minister of FCT. And so, it is better for him to be used to kill PDP. And then they will now use the judiciary to kill the ADC, so that they will not have competition.
The other leg, like I said, I want you to address this before we move on to some other thing, is that Professor Josh Amokita also referred to, because the interviewer asked him that, but why are you taking that decision to interpret? If you are not clear, why don't you go to he said, well, because he doesn't want to be a party to lawlessness, because the case of Zamfara, the case of in Plateau State, even Rotimi Amaechi's case in Rivers, then when, the court said, don't do this, but the parties went and conducted, and then the party said, well, the court said, you went and did, something in disobedience to court order, so that it does not want, that whatever ADC does in contravention of court order, it will be nullified, and all of that. Because, like I asked you,
but
there's the real doubt timetable. So if ADC falls there and doing nothing.
That is exactly the point. He is still being the adjudicator in this matter.
Rather than going back to the court.
Rather than going back to the court. He is still the one saying something is wrong. And what we are saying is that he should not be the one that should say something is wrong. If he is quoting those things, if he is quoting what happened in Zamfara, if he is quoting in fact, in Zamfara, it was INEC that stood his ground that there was no primaries in Zamfara. It was not anybody else. It was not the courts. It was INEC that insisted that there was no primaries. And on the basis of that, disqualified the APC candidate. And now, is he, being the INEC chairman, is it his responsibility
to hold brief
for another political party?
Or for the court?
Because we want him to show neutrality. And because he's not showing neutrality, if something is not clear to you, you go back to where that thing came from and say, please, this thing is not clear. If your teacher in a class gives you an assignment and says, go and do this assignment, and you look at the assignment and it doesn't make sense, you go back to the teacher and say, sir, this assignment, you don't determine that, okay, this is what the teacher means. By the time you work out the answer, you may be working at cross purposes with the intention of the teacher. So what Josh ought to have done was to have gone to the Court of Appeal to say, please clarify this.
Determine for us what is the status quo antebellum that you mean.
Yes. Let us understand what is the status quo antebellum. So that every Nigerian will feel, okay, yes.
It is the court.
It is the court.
Not INEC.
It is not INEC. But now, there is nothing he can say that will convince us that he has not taken sides.
This man is barely in office. I'm not sure it's up to 2 years. He was appointed 2024, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 2025 now.
2025.
Yes.
So barely 1 year or so.
He's not even up to 6 months.
Okay. So now we have all these, and these are very huge controversies because it's bordering on survival of democracy.
Yes.
People having faith and confidence. The third thing I want to ask is that I had this man also, Professor Josh, talking about the 93 million registered voters that is bogus, that it is inflated, that is not reliable. And that's the reason why they are subjecting it to Nigerians to come and revalidate their voters' card and all of those. Like you asked, you mentioned earlier, where did Professor Josh get this? And can this be done in the space between now and...
You see, the question I'm trying to ask is, when somebody passes judgment like this, we are all intellectuals. If you pass judgment that a figure is bogus, you have to justify it.
There must be a reason for it.
There must be justification.
Scientific reason.
Yes, there must be scientific reason. That, well, we conducted this, or we put consultants to conduct this thing, and they came up with this. Not for you to just sit down in a radio station or a television station and conclude. Now, what he doesn't understand, and I will let him know, is that if you observe Buhari's election, when Buhari was contesting, a lot of people registered to vote, and the votes were counting. Buhari was getting 12 million votes regularly. Immediately, Buhari said, I'm not going to contest. Most of the voters want their permanent voter register card. They want it. They didn't come out to vote. And some people choose, they cherry pick which election they want to go and vote for. And mostly, it's the presidential election that interests Nigerians, not governorship or House or Assembly. They want to select a good president. So for him to say that because 600,000, voter apathy is there. People don't believe that your vote will count. Quite a lot of Nigerians don't believe that if I go to vote, my vote will count. That is not to say that you don't have a voter's card or you are not a registered voter. But because people believe the voters will not count, my vote will not count. So for him to sit down in his office and to conclude for Nigerians, I think that is very wrong of him.
Last of this one is that with all these controversies, recognizing the factional PDP convention results, recognizing it, but then you come to ADC, you freeze out the NWC, freeze them out completely. Do you recognize them? Throw a spanner into their wheels, as it were, knowing that they have activities lined up that may catch up with them not being able to field any candidates. There is an election in Ondo State, election in Osun State coming up, and a few other places. Is this man, Professor Josh Amopitan, do you personally still have any confidence in him, in his ability to be INEC, an impartial INEC chairman?
You see, number one, I do not know what yardstick was used to appoint him. Because prior to his appointment, he was not a well-known Nigerian. Where he comes from, nobody, even those people don't know him much. Perhaps, maybe because of his academic attainments, his local areas may know him. But he was not even a well-known person. So we cannot even judge his own temperaments, his actions, how he addresses issues. And he has never held any position that will give us that sense that this man exactly knows what he's doing. So he was a choice of only the president. The president knows him, understands him, and knows he can intimidate him. Because he will give him a responsibility that is greater than him and ask him to perform wonders. And the man is ready to be sacrificed because he believes in Tinubu, he believes he was part of his legal draftsman or legal team or something. So he is ready to do anything for Mr. President. But that is not loyalty. Loyalty is to the country. And Tinubu's trying to force himself on Nigerians. I don't think it will end well. Because you can't force yourself. You came in through the ballot. You have to compete. You have a 4-year tenure which expires next year. You have to compete if you want to go back. And because you are afraid of that competition, because you know that Nigerians don't like you, I can assure you, go to any part of the country, you will understand that Tinubu is not loved by Nigerians. Forget about the fact that he is gathering governors. Even the governors are going there because of their survival. They are not going there because of him. They are going there because they want to survive. And so, he knows that where the votes are is with the masses. And how can he reduce the votes? It is to create revelation. He does not believe that Konkoso makes up to 1 million votes in Kano. He does not. So, he is telling Amopitan, do this. And then, all these problems are coming after INEC has already. The reason why INEC, even when Nigerians cried that they should not put election during fasting, instead of him to move it forward, he moved it backward. So that their agenda will now be played so fast as to disenfranchise quite a lot of people. It's a strategy intended to frustrate elections in Nigeria.
This is very scary, Alhaji. Now, coming to PDP, your party, the Turaki-led NWC that contains governors, senators, House of Rep members, I mean, the bulk of the party that actually contested against the president in 2023 election.
Yes.
They've been frozen out, more or less. The PDP headquarters is under lock and key by court order and all of those, But then, the faction of the PDP that worked for the emergence of President Tinubu are the ones now in charge of the PDP. Do you call this democracy or hostile takeover, like we call it in business?
Okay, let me tell you something. Now, Wike has already made his position known long ago, that he stands on the mandate of Tinubu. That is why he's the only minister that is not in the TSA. So he's the one that is allowed to spend money anyhow. He is the only minister that is greater than the Minister of Information, because he has created for himself a media chat, which he does every month. And in that media chat, he is abusing any Nigerian that is opposed to Tinubu. Any Nigerian. He has no respect for any Nigerian except Tinubu. So Tinubu is happy with it, because whatever you will do for him in his own interest, whether it is against the collective interest of Nigeria, it doesn't concern him. It is his own interest first, then maybe, in fact, I don't think he has any interest of Nigeria at heart. Don't forget that Tinubu said, he does not believe in one Nigeria. So if you don't believe in one Nigeria and you are now the president of Nigeria, and you are showing signs that you actually don't believe in one Nigeria, how can Nigeria be one entity with you? You are trying to destabilize the country. You are trying to divide the country. And the people that are working with Wike are desperate politicians. Some of them were given SUVs, 4-4. Some of them were given huge amounts of money. Some of them are desperate. They have gone to negotiate that they want to win their state. Please, they should allow them to win their state. And they are ready to do anything, because they have been out of power for some time. So most of them you see there, they are not real PDP at heart people. They are people who are fighting for their own selfish and personal interest, and not for the interest of the party. Because those who are working for the interest of the party are the ones that are on the other side. In fact, it is better for me to hear that somebody has gone to APC than for me to hear that somebody has gone to Wike faction. Because it's the same thing, but these ones are betrayers. At least this one you have gone on your own volition, but you are going into a team of betrayers of their own political party.
During the convention, the factional convention organized by Wike, publicly, he said the PDP has now been returned to the rightful owners. He said it, that the PDP has now been returned to the rightful owners of the party. And I was trying to see if I would see Atiku there. Atiku was part of the G34.
Who is the rightful owner?
Hold on, Alaji. Or I will see former Minister for Information, Professor Jerry Ghana, because I think those are just a handful that are still alive, But I didn't see. So I just saw a motley crowd of, people you referred to earlier with him. So the questions are, who are the real owners of the PDP? If Nyesom Wike is claiming that, are the real owners not Nigerians? Because PDP is being ascribed, it's been called the legacy party.
Let me tell you this.
Who are the real owners of the
Let me tell you this. The G34 are the real owners. And members of
Is Wike a part of the G34?
Wike was, when G34 was formed, Wike I think he was in the motor park in
No, that would not be kind.
Why would not,
that would not be kind.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yes.
As at the time G34 was formed,
1998.
yeah, Wike was thinking of becoming a local government chairman.
Yes, exactly.
He was thinking of becoming a local government chairman.
Exactly.
So he does not even know members of the G34. In fact, he was not even popular within his Port Harcourt municipality. He was struggling with John Mbata, who was trying to make him local government chairman, who was talking to Peter Odili and the rest, that they should allow him to become local government chairman. How can you, because you have been spending money?
Yes.
The money you have been spending, is it for the progress of the party or for your pursuit of your personal interest within the party? He was giving money to Damago and the rest. When you are giving money to individuals, that's not the party. Let us check the party account and see how much Wike has put in. for the progress of the party. How much? No. Anybody who is going to work for him and work in the pursuit of his own interest, that is the one Wike will pay. And so, how can he be a rightful owner of the political party? Jonathan didn't say he's the owner of the party. Exactly. Who has been a president of Nigeria. Sure. Atiku did not say he's the owner of the party. Obasanjo. Who has been a vice president of Nigeria. Obasanjo, who was not even a member of the G34 and became president, never said he's the owner of the party. How can Wike now say that he is the rightful owner of the party? In fact, the PDP is the brainchild of IBB. IBB sold the dummy to Abdul Salam, and they formed the PDP.
You know this for a fact?
Yes. In fact, IBB used to say that they are PDP and that they are the military wing of the PDP. Now he's a retired gentleman. I'm not sure that IBB will now identify himself with politics. But as a statesman that he is, I'm sure he's not happy with what is happening within the PDP. You know, when you are a foundation member yes. of a political party and the party is going astray, I'm sure you are not going to be happy. And I think IBB will never be happy with what is going on in the party. And we visited him. We visited him with Tony Muturaki, and he was not happy with what is going on. In fact, he complained about the fight in the secretariat. He was not happy. So, just for you to know that our leaders, who are the real owners of the party, then General Gusau and the rest, who are the real owners of the party, are not even claiming ownership of the party. Then, because you are standing on the mandate of Tinubu, you want to claim ownership of the political party. And you are saying, because you are able to manipulate a judge in Ibadan to include something which is not in our constitution, to recognize a caretaker committee. Our constitution has never envisaged, and we have never done a caretaker committee in the national listen. It's an internal arrangement. If there is peace, you can do caretaker committee. But if there is no peace, you can't do caretaker committee because it's unconstitutional.
Alhaji Umar, yeah, you've been very passionate. If you were advising, you were a special advisor to Namadi Sambu, if you are advising Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, Bala Mohammed, governor of Bauchi, Seyi Makinde, governor of Oyo State, Tanimu Turaki, you know, and all these other people, both in ADC and the Turaki-led PDP, if you are advising them, if you have their ears, what would you be telling them? Should they just cut their losses and move on, or rise up like men and fight? Because you said something very profound here. What would you tell them, please?
Well, you see, what is good for the goose, as the saying goes, is also good for the gander. In 2015, they did occupy Nigeria.
Yes.
They occupied places, they did protests, and so forth and so on. I think we should leave political party interests. We should leave any mundane interest. We have to save democracy. And the only way we can save democracy is we must occupy Nigeria. The only language Tinubu understands is that's what he has used. So we have to use what he has used to occupy the country. Let us see how they will conduct election. And let us see whether he will violate the constitution. Nobody is afraid to die now, because we have reached the zenith. We have reached the zenith. We cannot take such an insolence in the management of our democratic system. The judiciary, from Federal High Court to Court of Appeal, have been compromised. You cannot get justice. You can only get judgment. We are no longer, anytime the judiciary delivers judgment, a lot of people will say, that is what is expected. They will try to justify it, but Nigerians are not fools. You can't justify anything. We know what we know. And even if we are not lawyers, the law recognizes us as reasonable people. And the law even went further to say that where a reasonable person says this, then that is how it is. So the law even recognizes reasonable people, and we are reasonable people. We will not allow ourselves to be mortgaged. Democracy must exist, competition must exist, and a winner must emerge through competition. We are not calling for any military interruption. We don't want the military to come in. We want the democratic space to be allowed to function the way a democracy is. The way they came in,
yes,
through democracy, they were allowed every space. They cannot strangulate our democratic system because they want to achieve their own personal interests.
This bit you mentioned, this last part of your last statement is very interesting to me, and it leads me to this question. What is astounding to me now is that people are comparing President Tinubu and President Buhari. If Buhari, a military general, former head of state, military dictator, allowed free opportunity for everybody to play, even in the APC primary, there was free contest. Buhari, even though he had a preference, did not use, mago to... And then the 2023 general elections was like that. What do you say to this, that we're comparing a civilian to a military dictator?
You see, dictatorship is not in uniform. Dictatorship is in the heart.
Wow.
Tinubu is a dictator. He has formed a team in Lagos, good governance team.
Governorship Advisory Council.
Yes, that will now be telling him who to become this and who not to become that in Lagos. Ambode, everybody agrees, was a good governor, but he didn't meet the threshold of Tinubu, and he was removed. So, a person who you call a Democrat is somebody that will contest against certain people and still be very friendly with them. He is no longer friendly with Osinbajo because Osinbajo contested to become president. He is not talking to Amechi. They are not in good terms because Amechi contested along. Anybody that contested along with him is on his own. The reason why you see Emefiele in this mess is because why did Emefiele show interest in contesting the presidency? One. Number two, why did Emefiele redesign the Naira?
When he knew he needed Naira.
Yes, when he knew he needed. Why was the Naira redesigned? And from some grapevine, he was required to fund the campaign, which he said he cannot do that until he was directed by President Muhammadu Buhari to fund the campaign. These are the reasons why Emefiele is in the trouble that he is. Now, a Democrat is not somebody who will jettison those who help him to fight at any point. You can't leave El-Rufai, who was the person who stopped the adoption of Ahmed Law as the candidate. You deceived him. You went to Kaduna and said, you will not leave the podium until El-Rufai says he's going to work with you.
In the public?
In public. And El-Rufai came out to say, maybe even on a part-time basis. You said no, you went down and you returned back. And you said, he insisted he must say it that he said, okay, he's going to do it. Now, it's the same person, you took his name to the National Assembly. And it is the same person you asked NSA to write a report against him. And it is the same person that the Senate President, you asked him to disqualify him. And then you are now telling people that you are not the one. That is deceit. Clear deceit. I can assure you that Tinubu has never been a Democrat. Even the fight against Nadeko and the rest, it is because we don't know the intricacies and the inner stories involved in that. Otherwise, you will discover that he was playing a double game. Because a lot of people have said he was with Abacha and against Abacha. He was trying to strategize and place himself in a vantage position where he can take advantage of the situation. He was not a Democrat at all. He has never been. All the people he has worked with in Lagos, he fought with them. He has fought with Sanwo-Olu. He has fought with Fashola. He fought with Ambode. He himself, all his deputy, he has 3 deputy, and he was removing one deputy over another. So how can that person be a Democrat? He's not a Democrat at all.
I think we need to leave that. Let's move to River State, Alhaji. Wike, FCT minister, introduced Governor Fubara as his successor, and they got elected. And then, of course, when they had their falling outs, there was crisis in River State. The president suspended the governor, and then the Supreme Court more or less, sided with the president that what he did was right. Now Wike is going everywhere saying that Fubara will not get second term and all of that. Now, but the angle I'm interested in is the suspension of the governor by the president. Could that be a reason why most of these governors that were defecting and who are kowtowing to the president, is that the reason why? Are they afraid of being given the Fubara medicine? So that because if any of them step out of line, are they afraid that they may be suspended? Or
we have a saying in Hausa, Gani Gawani, ya isa wani tsoron Allah. Interpretation. Seeing something from somebody is enough for you to have the fear of God. We have seen those people that Okowa was found to have embezzled 1.3 trillion, and he was forced to return to APC or be in doom, and Okowa followed suit. Now, that is enough for you to know.
And the case just went...
The case is cold. Yahya Bello is now contesting for Senate. This is somebody that the EFCC chairman said that he rather resigns if Yahya Bello is not prosecuted. He is not prosecuting him. He is not doing anything. And Yahya Bello is even going to contest. He said it. And Yahya Bello is now going to contest. Now, that is confirming what Adams Oshomole had always said, yes, that whenever you join the APC, your sins are forgiven. So you are no longer a criminal. So since these are the yardstick, how can you now attribute? Why will the other people not be afraid that if they go against the president, their sins will not be forgiven? How would the governors not be fighting to go back to his party so that they will save themselves the trouble? Bala was fighting the president. All of a sudden, Bala was in court, the commissioner of Bala, because Bala has immunity. You can't take him to court. But his commissioner was taken to court, and so forth and so on. So anybody who challenges the president, you must go to court. Malami is in court because he has joined a party that the president does not want him to join, which is the ADC. So Malami is in court. Forget about the issues.
Allegations, whatever the allegations are.
There are allegations. But the point is that Malami is suffering all this persecution because he has not joined APC. If he were in APC, all this persecution would not have happened. So, in essence, I am telling you, the president even went further to say something on that rivers crisis. When they went for the first reconciliation, yes, in his place, he said, you know, I'm the national leader of APC. People cannot defect to my party, and I will tell them to go back. That is to tell you that ab initio, he was not even ready to be fair.
He was partisan from the beginning.
From the beginning, in that matter. And what he read as a national broadcast, everybody knows it's a lie. All those things were orchestrated by Wike, but not a single blame went to Wike. All the blame went to Fubara. Because Wike is the beloved son, in whom he is well pleased. So Wike cannot be guilty of any offense. That is why Wike can hold press conference, he can abuse anybody, nothing is going to happen. He can say anything and he will go scot-free. This he is protected because of his loyalty to Mr. President.
You know, you said in your previous interview that Nigeria will have the worst democracy in 2027 than we have even today. And that be a death sentence, you know, on this republic. Now, with this, your prophecy is gradually, you know, coming to pass. What would be your advice to Nigerians as we go into the elections? What would be your advice?
Well, you see, Nigerians know that they don't like Tinubu. He has never been a good president. He has shown a lot of incapacity to rule the country. He has shown by every stretch of imagination incompetence, you know, and he is not deserving of a second term. So my advice to Nigeria is forget about all these shenanigans he's doing. Forget about all those things he's doing. When the time comes, vote him out. Go out. En masse. He is trying to disenfranchise you. Go and register. Go and register to vote. Let him know that that 93 million is not a horse. Nobody can determine Nigeria's population now. It is merely guesswork. People will now say 250 million. Some people will say 280 million. Some people. Now, in a population of 250 million, let us break down the demography. Are you saying that those below the age of 18 are more in number than those above the age of 18? Perhaps if they are even more in number. Let us say 100 million, 150 million are below the age of 18. Then we will be having 100 million who are above the age of 18. And you have 93 million of them registering to vote, but they are not voting. Does not mean they are not fully registered. And the period you want to use to register is so short, because before people go and register to vote, there is a voter education that people do. We go around the north, for instance, to go and educate people why you need to vote, why you need to register, why you need to have a permanent voter's card. If their aim is to reduce the number of voters so that they will be able to justify that Tinubu won the election landslide, because the last time he got only 36% of the votes, which is not sufficient. If their aim is now to raise his bar and to justify that he won with a landslide, that thinking has failed, because that cannot be justified. What we are telling INEC is to allow that register to exist. If you want to do it, don't do it in the year of election. Do it after the election. You just have how many? You just started. You have 5 years. Why wouldn't you allow after the election? You can do all those things. You can do all those things. Look at the register, but doing it before the election evokes suspicion. It evokes so many feelings that the intention is to disenfranchise Nigerians. So you have dealt with political parties. You are now moving to deal with Nigerians.
I would fail in my duty, you know, if I don't ask you this question. What we have seen now in the last 2-3 years, what is the effect of this on democracy surviving in this country?
You see, like I said earlier on, democracy is gradually being eroded.
Being
eroded.
Eroded.
Now, when we're talking about democracy, we're talking about the intention of the founding fathers of democracy. What did they have in mind when they brought in democracy? They had in mind competition.
Yes.
They have in mind, even if you are writing results, at least Nigerians know you are writing results.
Exactly.
And they will say it. We had a president who admitted that the election that brought him was flawed.
Yes.
Because he knows that the election was not free, fair, and credible. And he set up machinery in motion to be able to correct those flaws. And that machinery, even after his death, kept on working, because Jonathan continued with the Justice Uwe's report.
Exactly.
You know, and after the implementation of the justice, Jonathan brought in Jega. He has never seen him. He has never met him in his life. He brought him to become the INEC chairman. All the institutions, he was not interfering with the institutions. He was not interfering with the courts. It was during Jonathan that the president will take a matter to court and he will be defeated. During Buhari, we saw 1 or 2 flashes where a matter was taken against him to court and he lost. For instance, the Naira redesign policy, yes. You know, he lost at the court. But in this case, under this dispensation, you can never get that one. There is no way that Tinubu will lose in the court. I don't even think that the Supreme Court that we have confidence in, will jettison. If the Tinubu has interest, they will jettison him and do something different.
Look at the case of River State, for instance.
Yes. Now, let me give you that instance. The state of emergency issue. Darie was the first person to take the matter to court, yes, during Obasanjo. The Supreme Court that time held that he was not competent to take the matter to court because as at the time he took the matter to court, he was no longer the governor. Now, what happened was that the PDP governors, sensing this, knew it was a death trap.
Yes.
So they now took the matter to court, including Fubara. They signed all they took. So the Supreme Court can no longer say Fubara has no locus. So they now went to court. Now the court ignored it for 162 days.
For a fraction of time, they allowed it to lapse.
Yes, to allow it to lapse. Now, so many things were wrong, yes, and all Nigerians know. For instance, in the House of Reps, where they were supposed to confirm the state of emergency rule in Rivers, it was a voice vote, and the law did not provide for a voice vote. The reason why they did voice vote is because they had not even formed a quorum to even sit
in the National Assembly.
In the National Assembly, they went to the Senate. The Senate also saw that if it was by voting, they could lose it, so a voice vote was taken. These were all constitutional breaches. Yet, the court did not find... The Supreme Court did not find anything wrong and decided to set it aside. So you can see that the matter has been predetermined. Now, when Mr. President was addressing the nation, he was talking about issues that were not even bothering on him, his competence. If a governor decides that a building should be brought down, what is the business of Mr. President? Is that his business? The custodian of the assets of River State is the governor. He will decide whether that building is competent to remain or not to remain. And his decision cannot be questioned because this is not monarchy. He does not report to Mr. President. He was elected by his people to run the affairs of River State. But yet, it was included in part of the speeches. You can now clearly see. Even the first agreement of the 8 points that were raised, 8 points, only one favored Fubara. And that is, you will not be impeached. All the rest were against him. And then Mr. President will not tell you that he's a Democrat, that he's a fair person. He's not fair. He's not a Democrat. He's not somebody who is worthy of the votes of Nigerians. And I believe, I want to call on Nigerians to shun this voter validation exercise because it is not done in good faith.
Palm Sunday, last week Sunday, in Rukuba, Angwa Rukuba, yeah, just north local government, gunmen, swooped on that place, massacred, some said 12 people, eventually were counting upwards of 40 now. BBC has reported it, New York Times has reported it. The president has made the usual statements, we'll fish out the perpetrators, blah, blah, blah. I think he even visited Plateau State yesterday. Alaji, I thought we had gone over this, especially in Jos. What exactly is going on?
Well, you see, unfortunately, when you elect, or let us say, when somebody is appointed as the president of Nigeria, whose interest is not the unity, cohesion, peace, and prosperity of Nigeria, this is what you get. Now, his general idea is merely to be appeasing the international community. And when I say the international community, let me be more specific. I will say France and the United States. The 300 students that were abducted in Niger State, ransom was paid. It was Reuters. Yes, Reuters reported the amount that was paid. The government denied, but I've worked in government before. I understand how government
works.
Yes. Government must always deny.
Yes.
But it is the truth. Ransom were paid. Now, if you see a lot of people return home after a mass abduction, ransom was paid. Because they want to give the international community that they have efficient security outfit that is capable of withstanding any
attacks or activities.
Yes, any onslaught. But that is not the case. I commend members of our armed forces because they have been putting their lives on the line for us. I also believe that members of our armed forces deserve all our attention. In the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, twice that was held, and Tinubu never attended anyone. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day, he never attended anyone. All the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, he was outside the country. But I'm not trying to compare his regime with that of Jonathan. When this thing started, and we discovered that our armed forces are not experts in this guerrilla warfare.
Asymmetric warfare.
Yes, they were not experts. So what we did was to recruit
mercenaries.
Yes, mercenaries who are experts. And those mercenaries, we did not recruit them to fight the enemy. No, they were teaching our people how to fight the enemy. And we were winning the war. We were winning the battle. When Buhari came, because he's a soldier, he felt the armed forces can withstand that, not understanding that this is a different scenario. And he himself, before he left, he tried to get back those mercenaries to come and fight those terrorists or insurgents. You know? But they refused to come back. They said they were not going to come back because we will have conquered them long ago.
Exactly.
But they refused. Now, this government has no idea of what to do. They don't have any idea of what to do. Now, they believe that changing chief of the Minister of Defense is sufficient. It is not sufficient. People must be sufficiently trained on how to do this thing. That's why they gave our space to America to come and do whatever they like here. You can imagine, in a sovereign country, America is bombing us on Christmas Day. We don't have the capacity to do that bombing. It is America that is doing it. Look at the new style that this man from Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, has employed. Now he has gotten bombs and drones from Russia, from China. and he's using it effectively to fight insurgency and terrorism. There are 43 stations that are doing this fighting, sending bombs, sending these things to the terrorists, and the terrorists they are demobilized. They have run away from that place. Now we fight these things with technology. Nigerians will place this life of our soldiers at stake. We send them to the open field, and the insurgents are briefed. They are coming this way. Then they round them up and then kill them.
Finally, where do we go from here? Where do Nigerians go from here? Last question. Where do we go from here?
Well, Nigerians, my advice to Nigerians is that you should be vigilant. Nobody can stop you from voting. That's your civic responsibility. It's your civic right.
How do they vote when there are no alternatives to vote for?
Yes, even if there is no alternative to vote for. So it is sometimes better to vote for what is available. Because what is available, I'm confident, will be better than the Tinubu administration. Because this Tinubu administration is not a listening one. It's not a caring one. And it is not a responsive government. I would even add that it is not a responsible government. And the reason why I'm saying this is because for every protest, there had been various protests in Nigeria. None was addressed. You see, when you care, you take people's views into consideration. That's you are showing care and concern. I'll give you one example. Lawal Jafari Isa was the military administrator in Kaduna State. As a military administrator, he decided that the Panteka market that was in Tudunwada has been shifted with military alacrity to bypass. And the owners of the shops in that vicinity, that is in the Panteka market, protested. They protested heavily. So he now reconsidered his decision. And let me tell you what he said. He said the fact that we are a military government does not mean that we should not listen to the people that we are governing. And that if we take a decision that does not sit well with those people, it is incumbent on us to examine how they feel and be able to decide on whether to continue, whether ours is better or theirs is better. And in this case, we have discovered that their own is better. We will gradually be able to evacuate them when the time comes to the new site. That is how a responsible and responsive government operates. People have protested about fuel subsidy. People have protested about NEPA bill, increase in NEPA bill. People have the dollar disparity, and so forth and so on. Not a single one has ever been addressed because he doesn't want to listen. Whatever he decides, the issue of tax, people have talked about tax. Everybody has condemned the tax. He still says, no, it must be done. That's what he wants. Now, that is autocracy, and that is not democracy. That is dictatorship, not democracy. And now we are facing a new phase of autocracy and dictatorship. And Nigerians will survive it because Nigerians know whom they want and they know who is their friend and they know the type of government they want. They have been experimenting. This time there will be no experiment. The decision is clear. Nigeria needs a reset and we don't need APC to be that reset.
Alhaji, Sani, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time with you this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay.